We're halfway through 2025, and I don't know about you, child, but some of those goals I set back in December just don't quite fit the same anymore. If this sounds like you, maybe your priorities have changed, maybe your life has changed, or maybe you just realized that some of those goals weren't quite yours to begin with. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through my full mid-year goals reset, what I'm letting go of, what I'm realigning with, and how I'm using Notion to plan the second half of my year with more clarity, more presence, and way less pressure. Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Amira, and around here we talk about mindful productivity, self-care, and building systems for a more intentional life. This is the second video of the Mindful Methods mid-year reset for 2025. We did the first video last week where I did a digital declutter with you all, and I also showed you a little general overview of my Notion and how I set it up. Speaking of Notion, if you're a Notion girly, don't worry, I got you. I am going to link in the description an accompanying step-by-step Notion guide that'll give you practical ways for you to conduct your own reset alongside with me. It'll be in the description down below, and also feel free to use the timestamps if you find a particular part of this video that you resonate with the most. All right, let's get into it. So first thing I want to touch on is why goals shift, and I want to normalize not reaching our goals. So let's first talk about what's actually happening when your goals stop feeling aligned. It's not failure, it's simply just information. You simply have new data, right? New information about who you are and what you actually want. And here's the thing, having goals shift around this mid-year point isn't just normal, it's actually a sign that we're growing and evolving as human beings. Sometimes life just throws you curveballs, sometimes we grow out of things, and sometimes we make goals in December or January that sound good on paper theoretically, or we see someone else with those goals and we're like, we want to get to where that point is, or we want to emulate this person, so let me adopt those goals for myself without actually first digging deep on the why. But then by June you realize, okay, that's not really what I'm trying to do, that's just not who I am in this moment. Maybe that side business idea doesn't light you up anymore, or maybe that arbitrary fitness goal was more external pressure than something you actually want. And that's exactly why I just don't leave my resets for the end of the year. I like to have periodic resets at meaningful points. So of course you have your little weekly reset and planning. I do a spring reset because the first day of spring brings transformation and a feeling of growth and renewal. And I also like to do mid-year resets, checking in at that halfway point, because it's not just about crossing things off of an arbitrary list, it's about checking back in authentically. So in the vein of checking in, first thing we're gonna do is reflect on what's working and what's not working. I brought you back over here because I'm now facing my computer. So as I said, before I even touch my goals, I like to carve out some time to reflect, not only on what I've done so far, but also what I've felt while doing it. So I'm gonna take you back into my Notion. We're gonna go into my goals hub here, my yearly planning. I did a video back in December where we went through together kind of intention setting for the year and then planning out our goals. So welcome to the Goals Hub. I have a space at the end of each quarter where I'm able to check in. So I've pre-built in some reflections questions. So I'm going to use those to reflect since I've already built them in for myself, but you can use whatever you want. So we are in quarter two. As you can see, we're making progress slowly, surely. I'm going to go ahead and take some time to reflect here, but you can use whatever you want. Some questions I recommend asking yourself are, what goals have you actually been making progress on? Which ones you've avoided and why do you think that is? And also what goals still feel aligned at this halfway point in the year and what goals just aren't hitting anymore. I also have some more reflections prompts in the shared Notion hub that accompany this reset down in the description below. And you don't have to do this, but to help make it a little bit of a challenge, I'm gonna bust out my little kitchen timer that we were using last video so I don't linger too long. So let's go ahead and set this for, I don't think we'll need 10 minutes, but let's just do 10 minutes on the timer. Alrighty, so we finished with about 30 seconds to spare. So love that for us. Now we're gonna actually get into the goals. The goals that I had in December don't quite look like what my current goal system looks like now. So I'm gonna share a screenshot from the December video. Those are pretty much the goals I had set. But now we're gonna go ahead and scroll up here to see what the goals look like now. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little bit of a tour of my goals hub. So up here we have the navigation with access to the weekly planner, my tasks list, and my vision board. My vision board for this year is also here. This is another synced block. So this vision board, this block is also the same vision board that I can find in my vision board page. I have this year's intention, which I went through with you all, which is I will seek clarity, meaning, and directionality while maintaining flexibility and a healthy detachment. I am living in my purpose every day. Lovely. Then scrolling down, we have our 2025 goals at a glance. Now I have the goals separated out here by quarter, and then I have goals by status. And then I have just like a table view of all the goals here that have the accompanying action plan and then the accompanying task. And then scrolling down, right, I have each quarterly breakdown. So for the month of January, I have my quarterly breakdown with my goals that I completed, my action plans that I completed, the tasks that I completed, and then my quarter in review. And then same thing here. We're still in quarter two, but I have my goals that I am working to complete still. And then I have my action plans and tasks and so on and so forth. Also beside it, I have my general monthly actions plan database here. So I have it by month here in this board view. And then I have the same questions pretty much, but at the end, all the way down, this is just for the year in review that we'll do at the end of the year. So the same questions, but I just like to see how my answers have changed over time for these same questions. These templates that you see here are part of my Mindful Life Goals Pack, which you can find in the description down below if you want to check it out. But basically it includes 5 templates, right? So not only does it include the yearly planner, but also the weekly planner, and then within that weekly planner, right, one more page, which is the ideal week builder that helps you construct your ideal week. And then we have our master tasks list, and then we have our vision board planner that I use to help me vision board every year. So again, if you want this exact system, you don't want to recreate it from scratch, especially if you're new to Notion, you can check it out in the description. So just reviewing these goals here, I just want to talk about what's shifted for me, which is quite a lot. So this year I had to really let go of a couple of goals that have shifted, particularly like towards the end of the year. For example, I thought that I'd be getting back into therapy, particularly solo therapy, not from a space of crisis, thankfully, but I just wanted to basically have a touch point established preemptively for what I anticipate might be a little bit of a stressful time towards the end of the year and into next year. So I just wanted to have that touch point already established for me. But alas, solo therapy was not in the cards this year, at least in the first half of the year. But my fiance and I did do therapy together. So we did a few couples therapy sessions in the months leading up to us getting engaged. That was definitely eventful and helpful just to get some perspectives that we weren't necessarily seeing, getting an outsider's perspective and making sure we were good to go, laying the correct groundwork. So I think solo therapy might be a next year thing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Another example is maintaining / improving my Pilates teaching skills. So I already moved that to next year. As you can see here, I have the status, right? Not started, in progress, done, next year, and no longer aligned. So far, nothing is no longer aligned, but this goal here particularly, I already knew it wasn't gonna happen probably this year because I did mention in another video that ever since starting my full-time job and kind of moving a little bit farther than those ring of studios that I was around, I subsequently stopped teaching full-time. So while I've been maintaining my Pilates practice by teaching friends and family who come over to get a workout in my Pilates corner downstairs, I think in terms of improving my Pilates teaching practice and having that consistent clientele coming in, it's not really been feasible. But I did put it to next year because I am moving again. So hopefully after I like scope out the Pilates scene in that town, we can see about perhaps getting on like a sub schedule or doing a few hours here and there. So likely next year once I'm settled. Looking here, another one that I think I'll have to move to next year is connecting more to nature. So again, I live in South Florida, so we do have nature, but apart from the beach, which is like just the beach, like water, and then you have the shops and the stores on the coastline, I didn't really get a chance to frolic in the fields and the parks and whatnot. So again, hopefully after getting more settled towards the end of this year and the next year, I can find more opportunities to do that. So yeah, there's that. By moving these items either to next year or no longer aligned in my database, I know it's no biggie, right? And this is what I love about Notion. I still have the goals there, particularly if I want to edit this view and say filter out the status, right? We only want to show, let's say we only want to show goals that are not started, in progress, and done, and we don't even want to show those next year or no longer aligned goals, which I think I'm just going to leave it filtered like this just because it's a little bit less cluttered. But I know that the goals are still there. If I need to go back to them, it's no biggie. I'm not like crossing it out, right? Which is what I love about this flexible digital system that is Notion. So now that I've cleared out the noise, I just want to go back and review the goals that I've stuck, what I feel are aligned going into the remainder of the year, and just kind of figure out what I really want to prioritize for the remainder of the year. So just an overview of those. These Q2 goals are in progress, but continue improving my personal Pilates practice. A little vague, but I feel like I've already completed that. I'll probably just check it off right now because I have consistently done Pilates and I'm constantly growing in my personal practice. So I feel like for this quarter, I've definitely met that goal. I've been on that machine. I've been rotating from chair to Cadillac to reformer. So that's been nice. What I will say as a caveat to that, like next year, once I get settled, I do want to seek out like a teacher or a mentor or maybe a mentor program because I would like to continue improving in a more measured way. I'm an instructor, right? But even instructors have instructors. So it would be nice to actually get with a more seasoned instructor, take some classes, maybe some privates, and continue improving. So that's probably also going to be a recurring goal for next year as well. Also continue building and maintaining my meditation practice. That is still ongoing. I think the issue is that it's probably not supposed to be in my evening routine. It's currently in my evening routine, but it's probably best if it was removed from my evening routine. I like to do it before bed, but it just doesn't seem like it's hitting when I do it as part of my evening routine. It's very sporadic. So we will just keep that as in progress. I think maybe we'll even move it to Q3 and just see what happens. Meditation is one of the ones where I do struggle. Engagement, my partner and I sat down and did our little deep dive in here about the things that we wanted to do prior to the engagement and what the purpose of this next step was and what we plan to do going forward. That was a success. So I didn't know when exactly he would propose, but just around the general time, I knew it would be probably within these 3 months. And lo and behold, it happened towards the end of April. Also, I launched my Substack. If you watched my gentle spring reset video, I did talk about my Substack. It is called Mindful Musings. I'll leave the link here, amirarichi.substack.com, if you want to join the fam. Also clarifying personal brand and what I want to offer. So I'm pretty much almost done with this. I think there are a few things like tangibly that I want to do, kind of updating like my visuals and so forth. So I would say that this is still resonating. Almost done with it, and I anticipate by the end of the quarter or maybe into July perhaps. So we'll see if I end up finishing in this quarter or if I move it to July. And then later in Q3, we have improving my plant knowledge / slowly building collection. I don't know about slowly building collection, we'll see, but I definitely have improved my plant knowledge. So that's pretty much like 70% of the way. Maybe once I move, I'll go ahead and invest in some more planties, ones that are low maintenance, maybe some self-watering pots for those plants, etc. So that is still going strong. Nurturing existing relationships and exploring new ones, expanding my network. I'm constantly doing that. I think where I'm headed as well. That's why I actually put it in Q3 because I'm moving during that time, and that will just be automatically completed because I will be in an environment where I'm going to be meeting tons of new people. That's fun. And then of course we have our move that is in progress, applying to some programs. That technically is not started, but by like next week it'll be in progress. And then we have our meditation practice here that we moved. Great. And then I don't try like to do this too much where I just say, oh, by the end of the year, I'll do this. I like to pinpoint specific quarters that I plan to do my goals. However, for things like reading books, learning, hobbies, and whatnot, I just said, okay, by the end of the year, I will hope to do that. Reading 20 books and building out Book Hub is gonna be a stretch because, again, I've been prioritizing work instead of leisure things. But I do continue to do my little Frenchy French lessons, small lessons as a part of my daily practice. Still don't know conversational French, but I am really getting good at like listening. So that's the next step forward. And again, I think I need to actually be immersed in French culture, just people who speak French, to be able to learn an intermediate conversational level of French, but at any rate, yeah. So reading 20 books and building out Book Hub, I actually built in a little accountability to be able to do this by the end of the year, which is Mindful Musings. So it is mostly paid Substack. I'm playing around with what things I want to lock off behind the pay. Probably like my more like, it's called the messy middle, just the tea on what's going on in real time. So maybe just those, and then like my monthly resets and stuff will be free. But what is also free that I'm going to start doing, that I just released, actually my first one, is the book of the month, where each month I just talk about the book that I read this month, or one of the books I was reading for that month, what inspired me, what it's taught me, the place that I was in where I was like, ooh, I want to read that. So this could be fiction and nonfiction alike. My first one, because it took me forever, was a review of Onyx Storm, which took me a long time to get through. Okay, I feel like that book of the month will keep me accountable. And like I said, I've been like in my fiction bag, but I'm also going to be sprinkling some like more nonfiction self-help things that I think are interesting. That's going to help me build out my Book Hub again, because I'll be storing a lot of my thoughts in that Book Hub. So if you want to be a part of a little book club situation, go ahead again and check out my Substack. And then last thing we have here is cultivating creative hobbies like music, writing, or painting. Well, writing, it's hard to say with writing, right? Because I do write, like I have my Substack and then I have my bi-weekly newsletter, but those are more like brand / like work aligned, whereas creative writing, just for me and my eyes only, hasn't really come to fruition just yet. I have not been able to paint. I have the materials and everything. I just haven't had time to sit down and do a little painting session. Maybe I might start small and get like a little like watercolor moment. That will be cute. And then also I haven't had time to dive back into the piano, and I cut my nails so I can really pick up that guitar that's literally right there. But again, just carving out that time to be like, okay, Mira, no work, just let your mind run free. I have yet to do that as of yet. So hopefully we can carve out a little bit of time towards the end of the year to get that started. So I'm going to go into one of these goals that are a little shaky, and I'm going to further clarify. If we open up, for example, our cultivating creative hobbies, I think I already filled this out last year, so let's go ahead and take a little peek. But essentially I have a PAP format that I used to think about goals and dive deeper to make sure that they're actually authentically me and not coming from external forces. So my purpose, why are you pursuing these goals? So I said, I know based on past experience that I deeply value artistic expression and feel a profound spiritual connection when I create for the sake of creating, as I feel like a lot of us humans do, right? Because we're creatives at heart. Whether that's playing music, painting, or writing, I have felt that pull that can only be described as my soul. So very woo-woo, but again, I feel like it's just a human experience thing to create. And then I also said I will discover, or maybe I should say I will rediscover my inner world and learn to express that outwardly without judgment or feeling that I need to share this with anyone. Just something for myself, creating for the sake of creating. My outcome, I asked myself, what would success look like? How would it feel for you? I said I want to commit to at least 1 to 2 hours a week. That has not been going well so far. A week to do something related to my creative interest. For example, maybe grabbing the piano and practicing scales, not just major scales, or a quick painting, or outlining a short story idea, or writing some quick poems. I would be having fun, ideally, right? Just feeling a sense of play and freedom and not having to prove anything in my work that I'm creating. Habits that I would need to develop to achieve this goal, same as always, time management, boundary setting, treating this like a date with myself. What are 3 things that would stop you from achieving this goal? Lack of boundaries, lack of time management, not having things in place to reduce the resistance of just picking something up and creating. And then how can I prevent these things from happening? Phone on DND, those focus modes gonna come in handy, and drag driving mode, maybe to auto text. And then sticking to calendar and or shifting calendar when things arise to make sure I'm always able to allocate time, which I haven't done a good job of, but again, work in progress. I'm here to show you that I am not perfect, right? I talk about these things and these systems because I'm actively using them and trying to get out of my own way in order to do the things that I say I want to do, right? So this is just me, authentic in real time. And also who might be able to help me achieve this goal, obviously Google Calendar, my fiance, family and friends, and understanding, and also any like online tutorials or resources that I find regarding any of these things. And then scrolling down, I had a plan which I already completed for the month of January, but basically it was to redo my ideal week builder and my Google Calendar, which I did, my GCal. As a result of me using my ideal week builder within this stack of templates here has allowed me to map out new time blocks and input the actual things that I want to be doing in each time block. I can show you what that looks like here. I'll go to a new week here just to show you an example. It looks a little crazy, but this is how I kind of like my calendar, right? With options. So of course I have my 9 to 5 work. I have my lunch breaks. I have my human times, right? So the light yellow is just my human time, things that I need to function as a human being, meal prepping, decluttering, starting the laundry, right? My sleep time. And then in the orange, the light orange here, I have my routine. So I have my wind down times and my morning routines. I have my exercise times here. So really this can be updated because I've also been doing Pilates most days. And then I have here, which is what I was trying to show you, right? I do have some creative hobby time. In the dark orange here, I put like an open time, which is just like anything can be put there. If I want to go out with folks like friends or family or whatnot, it could be within these hours. And then if I'm not going out with folks, then that would also be my creative hobby time. So it's very seldom that I'm actually going out with people on a Sunday, like late afternoon. So I've also put my creative hobby time there. And then this other dark orange slot over here on a Saturday night. I am not the night owl that I used to be in college, so that's why I have it here from 5:30 to 9:30. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the night gets away from you. You're having fun. But I just have that slot there so I can schedule out on the town moments. But if I don't do that, again, I don't like to leave the house very often, okay? So usually this is not an every week thing, at least for right now. We'll see how that changes towards the latter half of the year. But I also have 2 hours of creative hobby time on Saturday evenings as well. So this is just an example of what my current calendar looks like. It's not perfect. Some of this can be tweaked as well, but this is like my ideal. So going back into my creative hobby goal, because that's something I really want to do. I showed you my action plan, but I can take that a step further and outline some tasks associated with the goal and the action plan itself. Now I shared in my goals videos before, but not every goal has to have an action plan and not every goal has to have this long detailed set of tasks. So it just depends. For each goal, I have some properties here. The one action plan that I have was January. Again, I said I'm gonna redo my ideal week builder. I might take it a step further and maybe just outline some tasks. So some things that I wanna do to help myself actually carve out and commit to that creative hobby time. So let's go into my tasks list for a moment. Instead of maybe starting with the big canvases that I kind of used to paint on before during the pandemic, which I loved, maybe it's too much of a leap for me right now to just start painting on those canvases again. Maybe we just invest in some things that allow me to just do it on the desk really quick and easy, and that'll help me build that painting muscle again. So Cozy K, for example, uses these really cute watercolor books, and so I kind of want to invest in one of those. They don't take up a lot of space, which I'm all about, especially because I'm moving soon. Just really something simple for me to grab and go. So I am going to say buy watercolor painting book. I'm gonna note that as a personal task. That's gonna be done. We can do that within Q3. My due date, I'm not gonna say if I'm moving, let's say like I'll be settled maybe like August, right? So let's do that. Priority. So I split my priorities into high priority, low priority, and might do someday. I'm gonna say this task is high priority just because I literally said I wanna start having a little bit more creative hobby time. So I'm gonna make it a high priority to do that. The energy level, right, the demand is low energy. For me to go on Amazon and click order will take me literally 5 minutes. Related goal is cultivating creative hobbies. We see it up at the top. And then action plan, there is no related action plan for now, so I'll keep that blank. But right, again, because I love to break my goals down usually into the overarching goal and then the action plan and then maybe subtasks associated with each action plan, that's where something like this would come in. And then the day tab here is what I use to connect this back to my weekly planner. So if it was the week of August 9th, right? So if August 3rd was coming up and I do my weekly planning for the week, I know, oh, I want to order that watercolor book. I use the day task to then plop this task onto my weekly planner. So let's say if I wanted to do it on Tuesday the 5th, I can just put Tuesday. And then if we go into my weekly planner here, scroll down, it's in the Tuesday bucket, and then take it a step further, right? We go back into my Life Dash. It's just front and center on my Notion homepage. So for me, this is where Notion really shines. You can customize everything to your needs and to your liking. You can make the databases how you want to, arrange them how you want to, copy to different pages that you view on a more daily basis. So I've got a few simple goals that I'm gonna link in the shared Notion hub that you can get down below associated with this reset. There's gonna be a simple goals database in there, but if you wanna bypass all of that and get the exact system I'm using now, the Mindful Life Goals Pack, which is the pack of 5 interconnected templates, right? They all interact with each other, then that will be available for you in the description as well. So some important things to note here, right? I don't track 20 goals at once. As you can see, there are definitely less than 20 in my goals hub. I feel like 20 goals a year for me at this point is a little bit much. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it visual. I want to keep it seasonal, right? Continuing to check in on my goals for each season. So whether it's my business goals or my personal goals, I look at the high level goals for each quarter and then will attach them to the appropriate action plan and then tasks for me to tackle each week. For me, I definitely feel like this second half of the year is about continuing to build that consistency, that momentum behind the scenes, and particularly consistency over intensity. But also just remember that this reset isn't about being perfect or more productive. It is really about reconnecting to what matters to you the most. Mid-year is simply just a checkpoint, right? It's not a deadline. Let yourself pivot. Let yourself do what you need to do. Let yourself rest. Let yourself recommit to what matters to you most gently. So that is it for week 2 of the Mindful Methods mid-year reset. Don't forget, if you want to join in, go ahead and check the description down below where you can get your free access to the shared Notion hub. As each video of the reset goes live, I'll be adding the corresponding pages to the hub. I'm curious to know, so let me know in the comments, what goals are you letting go of or maybe shifting for the remainder of the year? Or what's one thing maybe that you're actually still holding on to that still feels aligned at this point of the year? I'd love to hear what's coming up for you. Next week, I'm moving on to our rhythms, our routines, our rituals that help us feel good. This one, I admit I've been slacking on this year just because I've been prioritizing more work. So if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when that video drops. I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stay mindful.